All right, welcome back. Let's see if we can get through an entire board today. So previously we had set up this little schematic, and now we're going to make a actual PCB layout and spit out what's called Gerber files. For those of you who have never made a PCB before, the Gerber files it's a package of individual files that tells the fabrication house how to make your board. And there's a lot of board houses now that can take Eagle files directly, and it seems really easy. Personally, I don't do that. I've never done that, and here's the reason, is that the Eagle file contains all of your design data, which you don't necessarily want to share. I mean, if it's just a hobby project, maybe who cares, but personally, I don't want to share any of that stuff. But it also leaves open some room for interpretation, and that I really don't want. The Gerber files are locked down. It's like sending somebody a PDF document as opposed to a Word document. If you send somebody a Word document, they open it up in another program, or the computer that you sent it to doesn't have the same font or something like that. It can kind of change things around, but PDFs are kind of locked down. So think about it that way. Anyway, let's dive in. So we got our schematic, and for now I'm going to assume this is okay. We may find some problems. But click on the little board icon, and here we go. So we had kind of sort of laid this out before. And what you see here is that the black area is the physical size of your board. And that is defined by lines that are on layer 20. So if I hide everything except for layer 20, that's all you will see. So if I click the move command and I grab a corner, I can move the shape of my board. So in this case, I just want it to be, I'll still keep it a square. So if you grab the middle of a line, it will move both corners. If you grab a corner, it just moves that corner. So I'm just guessing my way through this. Keep in mind, this is introductory, not necessarily best practices. So keep that in mind. So let's see. Let's just kind of guess at that. If I put my crosshairs there, I can see, oh, this is 1600 by 1200 mils. I don't really want that. Let's go to inches. For now, my brain kind of works in inches, millimeters. This is a situation where the grid does not matter. Set it up the way you like. I typically go with, something like, I don't know, 0.5 millimeter or something for the coarse grid, or 1 millimeter for the coarse grid. And I set my fine grid really, really fine so I can adjust all the components. So let's go back here. Let's just show all the layers just to kind of get started. And let's put our switch in the middle. And out of the switch is going to be resistors. So all I'm doing right now, and this is assuming I have no constraints. Like in the case of a thing like this with LEDs and a switch, you probably are trying to put this in a case somewhere, and that case is going to have certain dimensions, and you have to the LEDs have to be in a very specific spot. Right now, I'm just kind of freelancing this as a board that I don't really care where these pieces are. Precision be damned. I don't care. Not right now. We're just going to show you how I did that. So all I did is click the little move command. I went and picked up the little crosshair in the middle is the origin of those parts. I moved it around. I used the right mouse button to rotate it, and just kind of roughed this thing in. There's nothing special here. So if I go to let me see if I can remember what these are. I need to actually write down the icons. I got so used to my keyboard commands. There you go, rat's nest. That's what I was looking for. So when you click on rat's nest, the rat's nest is referring to all of these little air wires that are all over the place. And as you move things around, like if we move this thing over here and say this one, over there, when you click rat's nest, all that really does is recalculate the shortest route on those wires. And those wires aren't really showing you how to route the copper. They're just showing you what connections need to be made. So I just hit Control Z to kind of go back on that one. And for now, in terms of routing, I don't really care about all the text data, so I'm going to go to my layers and I'm going to turn off top names and top values. So now it's a little bit easier to see. And what the heck? You know what? I don't know what layers these are on or why they didn't turn off, but that's super easy because I can open up the footprint and ask it. Oh, it's on the top place. So again, here we go. Again, this was a something I made probably a long time ago. Didn't realize that I was putting the name, instead of putting it on top names, I put it on top place, which kind of screws me up right here. And this one, again, that's supposed to be on top values and not top place. Anyway, so we're just going to have to deal with that on this one. But there you can see a mistake that I made, and I'm paying for it now. So the next thing we need to do is make the connections. So that one we'll use the route command. And up here, we have a bunch of different things on how we're going to route it. These, most of the time, well, some of these are advanced. For now, the default of walk around obstacles, I'm going to keep that. And that essentially, Eagle is calculating in real time how to avoid certain things. So you can't bump into another part or short out tracks and all that kind of stuff. So that's a good place to start. The width, since we have at least a speck of power going through here, let's go with something reasonable. 16 mils or 16,000ths of an inch is pretty good. I forgot what that is in metric. But either way, so we're in this route mode, and when we click on this, kind of almost anywhere near it, you can see it's like, oh, cool. So now we can see all the entire net, like whatever's lit up, we can actually make that connection. And so I'm going to make that connection. So I'll click once, and it's trying to maintain horizontal, vertical, or 45-degree lines. You can turn that off, but generally speaking, that's kind of a nice way to route. It keeps things kind of straight and clean. If you're completely free, it kind of gets difficult. So I'm going to connect those things. Then we have to connect this one to here. So that's it. So now if I hit the little rat's nest, well, it doesn't have anything to update. So it moved that the air wires are gone, and whatchamacallit, the copper tracks are actually there, which is really nice. So in this case, see, we've got my LEDs here. That's great, but they're backwards. I kind of want the side that's going to connect to power to go this way. All right. So out of the LED, we'll go back to the route command, and we'll go over here, and it makes that connection. Now I've got my sound turned off, but normally it makes like a little ding sound when you make that final connection. So if you look here, Eagle is automatically trying to avoid shorting out these lines. And wherever I put this thing, it's trying to calculate what that is. That's the this one here, the walk around obstacles, which is kind of the default when you first turn it on. Really, really handy. This is a relatively new feature for Eagle, and it allows you to, very neatly place your tracks nice and parallel and all that kind of stuff. So right now I'm holding down the Alt key to get it right up to that other track, and you set little anchors. Every time I click, it's setting a little anchor. So there's that. And let's do the next one. So again, I'm routing this with my Alt key held down so I can have kind of fine adjustments. I'll go up this way. And I almost always route with these 45-degree turns. That's a long discussion, but it's really just to make the board look nicer. So what I've done here, I'm kind of getting ahead. So I hit the move command, and let's say pretend I want this track to be a little bit closer. If I grab this in the middle, it's going to move the entire thing vertically, and it's recalculating those 45 degrees. But if I zoom in, as I get closer, it's giving me this little hash area right there. That's telling me that you're too close for comfort, essentially. That violates what's called the DRC. Those are the design rules that you put into place. And there we go. So now we have that part connected. Now we need to connect the grounds. And let's just say on the grounds, let's make those bigger. Don't really have to, but we will. Great. There's those grounds connected and those grounds connected. And so now there are no air wires left. If we go here to our layers, we turn everything off and we look at what is unrouted. These are the air wires. There's nothing there. But we have kind of a critical problem with our design, and I just turned all the layers back on with my hotkey. I'll show everything. Who cares? All right, so the problem is that we don't have any way to connect our 5 volts and our ground to the outside world. So now we have a situation where we need to add to our schematic. So not a problem. We've got the thing pretty solidly routed here, at least functionally so, even if it's not pretty. So we need some way to connect it. So we're going to add a component here. The first time you click that add part, when you've opened up the software, it takes a little while. I'm not entirely sure what drives that. I think WirePad, is WirePad. Let's see if that gets us any luck. Yeah, perfect. So I'm not sure this is the best one. So I'm going to put this WirePad here. I'm going to put another one there. So one of these is for the what am I trying to say? The plus 5V, and the other one is for ground. So just like anything else, I'll click the little net, and I'm just going to put a little stub there. And the same thing over here. I'm going to put a little stub there, and I'm going to right-click that one and name it plus 5V. And it's asking me right there at the checkbox, I want to place a label. Yes, I do. And I want to connect those things. And I want the label to kind of look like this. I want it to be this little kind of tag thing. I want that to be the size. And I'm going to put it right there. Plus 5V. This one needs to be GND. Place label. And yes. And it remembered the label that I used the last time, which is kind of nice. So now, I haven't, this can be floating around anywhere. It doesn't have to have wires connecting up to here. But if I click on the eye and I click on plus 5V, you can see this one lights up. So perfect. It's on the same net. The ground is on the same net. So when I go back to here, now we can see we have these 2 pads. I click the move button. I'm not sure why this is so finicky. Okay, so there's our plus 5V input. You can like solder a wire to that one. And here is our ground. Perfect. So we got those things placed. Let's go to back to our routing command, and 24 is pretty good for this one. There we go. I'm not going to win any awards with the layout, but technically those LEDs are going to light up when the button's pushed. So now we have a way to get the power into it. It's routed through the switches, through the resistors, and all that kind of stuff. So now we have an electrically functional board. So I think I'm going to stop this one here. We pick up on the next one. We're going to clean up some of the text and do a couple of other things. We'll get it ready for to make the Gerbers, and it'll be ready for fabrication. So we'll see you on the next one.